Welcome, everyone! Welcome to Foxhole, the only game whose player base has been at war for 168 years. I'll get to that later. So, I was just kind of scrolling the Foxhole wiki, and I found this book series written by the developers called A Chronicle of Ashes. I figured there'd be a lot of lore, but most of it's just simply stories expanding the experiences of families during the wartime. So without further ado, let's jump right in. The two questions I will be answering today is, what exactly was the breaking? And, these two go together, how do both factions deal with recruitment, and how many soldiers roughly survive the war? I will also be adding extra lore implications and just random notes I jotted down at the end in a lightning round I've deemed Lore Bits. And there goes the budget for dramatic effects for this video. So first of all, what was the breaking? Well, for a while, it was simply a mysterious event in which Nick Niven held the line and Ian Callahan united all of Siva. Check out my other videos on the lore of Foxhole and you'll see that I was pretty confused. Turns out, it's a bit complicated. So disclaimer, in A Chronicle of Ashes, this segment is read by a child out loud from a book in universe. So I'm not sure how much of this is accurate, but believing what the child says, this is what the breaking was. Now, the book where this comes from says, in times long past, referring to the breaking. But since this takes place before the Velian Revolution, I'd go to say this takes place in a time before muskets. So we're talking most likely medieval warfare, but it could still easily be muskets and cannons. The breaking consisted of multiple squabbles and insults that ended with all of the clans going to war. Now, wars usually only lasted months prior to this war. However, the breaking was important. It was one of the first major elongated wars lasting decades. Within these decades of warring, minor clans ceded to bigger clans, and all-out war tarnished the entirety of Siva, disrupting trade from Veli to Niknavan. Callahan ceded their clan to the Mercies. You heard that right. I was surprised too. The Callahan clan surrendered to the Mercies. However, after most likely years of fighting, Ian Callahan wanted peace. Ian Callahan then traveled from fort to fort, with most kings accepting his offer. Only one king refused. The king of Barony got angry and imprisoned Callahan. Wow, I wonder what place held the cage for a king? Hmm. Anyway, the King of Barony was so impressed by Callahan's diligence that he let Callahan have an audience with his people. Of course, it was during this time that in A Chronicle of Ashes a woman cuts the kid off and states her disbelief. However, they're both thieves, so they're both on the lower education side, so it's a good question if she actually knows history, or just doesn't believe that would happen. Next up, recruitment and survival. Well, the survival rate statistic is easy. It's really low, but actually not zero, as proven by 4 veteran characters in the mini-series, with 2 being colonial and 2 being wardens. However, the recruitment is much darker. In the Warden Empire, which is actually just the military forces, thanks Lord Discord, of at least these countries, Adel, Niknavan, Siva, and Sorovia, there are camps. Now, I'm unsure of the requirements to be in these camps, but I'm pretty sure the requirements are be able-bodied and not a broke orphan criminal on the streets, and that's probably it. These camps are harsh and get you used to death. Not only that, but they start recruiting at around 10. After the camps, you are sent to training outposts. Some of these outposts are legitimately in the Arctic Circle in Niknavan territory. From there, you are subjected to somewhat cruel training, which was shown to us as clearly as the recruits' brains who were splattered on the ground after being shot by the captain. The Colonials, although we haven't seen much of their actual training in action, still recruit children into their army. Able-bodied children are recruited young. Our 2 Colonial veteran characters say that they were recruited at the ages of 8 and 12 respectively. However, it seems to be confirmed that the Colonials do give maternity leave for mothers, so that's nice at least. And now, before we continue, I'd like to thank today's sponsor. Just kidding, I'm not that good at YouTube. Anyway, I am as of now unsure where Ian Callahan dies. That's what I've actually interrupted this segment for. You'd think he'd die before the Valyrian Civil War, right? And I thought so too, so I checked the history page of the Foxhole wiki to see if I could take a break for once. And it reads that he dies, and one of his sons leads troops to put down unrest from Whedon's Row to Ugmaran, which is nice and all. However, the wiki states that this occurs after the Valyrian Civil War, but the source that this information is from says that the brother dies by the hands of Valyrian rebels after the formation of the Brigade of the Eight Sons. And yes, this could just mean random Valyrian rebels, but I feel like the only reason he'd be down there is to fight in the Civil War. So for my official lore timeline, Ian Callahan dies before or during the Valyrian Civil War. Okay, time has passed really quickly because guess what? It's time for lore bits. Patent pending. Where I just list off random short tidbits of lore. So, Tidbit 1. Wildlife does live in the playable area of the map, it's just not visible, as the lore entry of the vehicle husk in Umbral Wildwood states that the vehicle is now home to a litter of tiny lynx. Aww. Tidbit 2. Cronia may or may not be a state inside of Masaya instead of an independent country. Not sure on that one, couldn't get a definitive answer. Tidbit 3. In Flowers for Marta, one of the Chronicles of Ashes books, one of the main characters, and one of the veterans mentioned earlier, mentions a location overseas that pays well for wine, meaning there is more to this planet than just our war. Tidbit 4. In that same story, the same character mentions that he served in Eastern Masaya with a Volta repeater. His wife died in the year 803, and his youngest child was around 7 or 8. This means that this takes place in roughly 810, and the main character was in service in roughly the 790s. This could imply that the Volta repeater was standard issue back then, and only now in the 1000s is the Argentine standard issue. Tidbit 5. The war in Foxhole would not actually go on this long in the real world. By the year 1000, the Nevish Alliance and Siva itself seemed to be struggling to stay together, and by the year 1005, Masaya, or the Colonials, have been struggling to stay together. Tidbit 6. Every day takes 1 hour in real life, meaning that 1 real day equals 24 Foxhole days. If you multiply that by 365 days in a year and then multiply that by the 7 years that Foxhole has been in development, that is 61,320 days, or 168 years. This could also imply that the current year is somewhere around 1,173, meaning in roughly 1 year and 2 months, or 410 days, will be the second turn of the century in Foxhole. And with the speed round done, I am finished. That is all I have to say. If you like this video, please like. And if you loved this video, please like and subscribe. Remember to ring the bell if you want to see more lore videos and just general goofing from me. And please comment so others can see this video. Thank you for watching, and I shall now return to my theory room. Peace. Also, roll the blooper reel. Now, in the book where this comes from, it says, in long times past. That's not the right order it's said in, but I don't want to keep doing more takes, referring to the breaking. But, since this takes before the freaking, oh my words are not the wording, oh my. However, most likely, years of fighting, oh wait, I didn't read that right. Anyway, the King of Barony was so impressed by Callahan's the war. Oh, wait, shoot. Tidbit 1. Wildlife does fricking. And with the second speed round done, that was the first speed round, ignore my words. Also, roll the blooper roll.